Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the Imagine Golf podcast brought to you by Imagine Golf and PXG. You can go to our site, imaginegolf.com, to see all of our offerings, including our free drills, our practice plans, our golf ebooks and videos, or to book a lesson with me either at our state-of-the-art studio right outside of Philadelphia or virtually through our partner, Whaaaatttt.com. And you can sign up for our free tips and videos that go out once a week, every week, by simply dropping us your email. Well, if you haven't heard the news, the PGA Tour and Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, or PIF, have officially merged. And what an announcement that is. And the way it happened was absolutely crazy, right? No one, including the players that are on the PGA Tour, knew until it came out in social media. So that unto itself is a little crazy. There's been a lot of things going on behind the scenes that I'm not privy to, and obviously a lot of people aren't privy to as well. But it's been being discussed for a long time now. Over 6 months, the two sides have been discussing this possibility, if you would. And to be candid, look, I always thought it was going to happen. I think a lot of people thought it was going to happen. It had to happen at some point. The AFL and the NFL merged, and a lot of soccer leagues have merged to come together. I think in the end, it's good for golf. I know it's good for golf. And in my personal opinion, I hope they keep them a little separate for the time being, because the entities are definitely unique, right? The LIV Tour is totally unique from the PGA Tour and vice versa. So it would be nice to keep them separate, in my personal opinion, and then maybe have some events where they're combined, if you would, or even against each other, right? A little competition there. But in the end, it's really no surprise, right? I kind of stayed out of it. Being an instructor, we have 4,300 different students, if you would, with 4,300 different opinions. So I really can't be controversial and taking one side over the next for fear of alienating students, if you would. And I certainly don't want to do that, right? So, but when asked, look, I was always a fan of competition. I'm a fan of LIV. I've been to numerous LIV events, and it's different. It's a totally different vibe and a totally different atmosphere, if you would. That being said, was I, only a LIV guy? Absolutely not. I'm a golf guy first and foremost, right? I love golf. I love watching golf. So I never understood the rift. You had to pick a side. It seemed like you had to be on the PGA side or you had to be on the LIV side, right? And I wasn't that guy. So, and I'm still not that guy. But let me just go over a couple different things as to why it's no surprise that LIV and the PGA have come to some type of agreement. But first and foremost, there is a huge antitrust lawsuit or litigation going on right now, and it was pretty well in different circles, man. It was pretty well thought that the PGA was going to lose, and if that happened, that was going to be a big problem for the PGA, right? So now with this merger, all those legal battles are solved, if you would. They're all put aside, they're all withdrawn, and they're moving on. So I don't know. I don't want to say that is the reason, right? Because there's certainly many other reasons, but that definitely had a big part in it. When you look at back in like July, I think it was like July 11th last year, even the Department of Justice was looking into the PGA Tour for their anti-competitive stance, if you would. Look, I don't know a lot about a lot of things, but I know as a business owner, you don't want the Department of Justice anywhere near your business in any way, shape, or form. So that was a problem as well, right? So that had to end, right? If you look at some of the success that LIV has had, right? Obviously with recruiting, they've recruited some of the best golfers in the world. That's not disputable, right? I mean, just look at Brooks Koepka lately, right? But on top of that, Cameron Smith. I mean, at the Masters, they had 3 finish in the top 10, or 4 finished in the top 10. At the PGA, they had 3 finished in the top 10. So there is no discounting or discrediting that LIV has some champions and some quality golfers on the tour, if you would. And the whole argument of the sponsorship, if you would, or who is back in the LIV tournament, always struck me as odd. The whole morality, the selective morality, point of view, that always struck me as odd, because when you look a little bit underneath the covers of the PGA, and you look at some of the sponsors that do business with Saudi Arabia, the list is long, man, and distinguished. AT&T, Chase, JP Morgan, Pfizer, AIG, 3M, Bank of America, FedEx. That always struck me as odd, right? The FedEx Cup is one of the biggest events in the PGA Tour, and yet they do business with Saudi Arabia, and everyone says, "Oh, wait, I don't like anything to do with Saudi Arabia." So that always cracked me up. Deloitte, Pepsi, Coke. I mean, I could go on and on. All these companies, and many of them are Fortune 500 companies, do a sizable or significant business with Saudi Arabia and our sponsors on the PGA Tour. So that wasn't going to go well. You can't keep bashing your sponsors' business dealings, if you would, and expect that to go well. So I'm sure that had a part in it. I thought it was interesting that it's almost to the day, the year, if you would. I mean, LIV started, the first tournament in London last year was June 9th. And here we are 1 year, just under, 3 days under 1 year, and the announcement is made, right? The broadcasting piece of it had a lot to do with it as well. Say what you want about people not showing up to LIV events, no one watching LIV. That's just not true. A lot of people were showing up, and the viewership was significantly up in just 1 year, if you would. And LIV had gone on and signed a couple significant deals. So the most famous, obviously, is with the CW, the actual broadcasting partner in the US. But they signed about half a dozen to 8 different deals with worldwide sponsors all across the world, if you would, specific in every country that they wanted to. So they were getting a worldwide audience and starting to get traction. And I'm sure that had gotten the attention of the PGA leadership, if you would. So look, I'm not defending either one. I'm a fan of golf, as I mentioned. I'm excited to see all the noise go away, all the distractions that go away, and get back to just playing some awesome golf. And I got to tell you, I'm super excited to see everyone that was so outspoken, all right, on either side have to eat crow, if you would, and how they're going to react to that, right? Hank Haney calls it the corrupt golf media, right? I want to see what these corrupt golf media people have to say now, right? What do you say now, Brandon Chambly, right? What do you say now, right? Some of the guys on the Golf Channel, right? It's just going to be crazy. And it's also going to be interesting to see, what about all the money that was turned down? I mean, if you look at Tiger Woods as a perfect example, he doesn't need any money, right? But he was offered between $700, $800, and even $1 billion to join the tour, right? I'm pretty sure that money's off the table now, right? But what about all these other guys, all right, that were on the tour that were offered money? And by the way, everybody on the PGA Tour considered moving at some point. Don't think for 1 second that a tour or a player on the PGA Tour and their agent either A, wasn't contacted by LIV, or B, didn't reach out themselves to see what the offering was. There's not a single one of them that didn't do that. I guarantee it, right? And you would too, right? If you had $30 million on the table available to you. But it's going to be interesting that lower tier guy, if you look at quartiles, the bottom quartile of the PGA Tour, the guy that, is making a living, but not making a great living, that was offered some significant money to go to LIV. It's going to be interesting to see what those guys do now, right? Is that money still available to them, and how the two are going to treat, or how the one, if you would, is going to treat defections from one league to the next. And the world golf rankings, man, they look really stupid now, don't they? Right? Taking out all the LIV golfers in the world golf. I had to laugh. I was watching the tournament in Muirfield, Ohio this weekend, and they talk about the top 2 golfers in the world. And they didn't mention a single person on LIV. I mean, can you imagine, right? Not even if you just, even if you think that, right? But just to say that didn't even make any sense. You mean to tell me that Brooks Koepka isn't in the top 2 golfers right now in the world? Come on, man. So I'm happy to see all that noise go away, right? Let's focus on the game itself. I do think there's value in that unity piece, if you would. And I'm really looking forward to what's coming up in the future, right? So I'm sure this is not going to be the only podcast that we do on the subject. And I'm sure I'll get a lot of negative and positive reviews for my stance. And again, I'm not defending either one. I thought that the PGA did a poor job in handling on their end. And I thought that LIV probably did a poor job on the way they approached the whole thing from the start, if you would. But all that's water under the bridge now. We have one league, and it's going to be interesting, right? It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. If you love golf, there's never been a more exciting time in golf, in my opinion, anyway. So, look, man, that's all I have today. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the follow button below or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to check out our site, imaginegolf.com, and you can follow us on all the social media platforms. And as always, here's to getting you the game you've always imagined.